a community is not full of audience. A community is full of members. And to convert audience to members, you can do that absolutely. But you need to make sure that's something they're even interested in. So you want to kind of do a check like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. It would look like this. It would, whether it's free, cost this, whatever, spell it out.
Today, we get to speak with Jillian Benbow, the Director of Community Experience Manager at SPI Media. With over a decade of experience running digital communities and programs, Jillian has seen it all. She's eager to help more people run successful communities and to help grow the digital community profession. When Jillian is not working on all things community, she's enjoying the outdoors of Colorado with her family and 2 energetic dogs. So let's listen into this episode. I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Welcome to the podcast, Jillian.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm honored.
Super, super awesome. So, Jillian, tell us a little version of your journey that no one's heard of before.
Oh, dear. That no one's heard of.
Nobody.
Let me think. Well, so I've been working in digital community building for a very long time, over a decade. I've lost track of the years at this point. I'm like, after 10 years, whatever, I've been doing this forever. Yeah. But actually how it started was really interesting. I started kind of as a very part-time, like contract type role for a very large organization that I just kind of stumbled upon. And they had a huge, it was like your typical like West Coast startup with a bunch of venture capital, and they went for funding. It's, again, when I was there, and it started small. I was there for like 5 years, almost half my career so far in community. And it went from like 10 hours a week. I had at the time a toddler, and I just needed something like adult things. Like one day my husband came home from work and I was like, I got a job. And he was like, oh, okay. I was like, it's remote. And yeah, and then, fast forward, I fell in love with it. And it just grew. It grew into, leaving that company as a senior level community manager, and then bouncing around to a couple different places. And now here I am.
What's one of the specific things that you really fell in love with?
I think I really enjoy it. Well, one, I love getting to know communities, like the actual individuals, like yourself in a community that I'm running, and just the opportunity to connect with people, especially in these global communities where you're meeting people from all over the world, different cultures, different, ways of life. There's that, of course, especially in a pandemic when you can't travel, you can at least, connect with people all over the place. But something about the actual, like the work that I really enjoy is, if you're deep in the weeds of a community, if you're really active in a community, you can see where the pain points are for users or members, however you want to refer to them, and you can fix them. And there's something about that I just really enjoy, like seeing, hey, people get really confused at this point and then looking at it from, that beginner's eye and being like, oh, well, I can see why, and then, okay, who on the product team, who do I need to rope into this conversation, and let's see if we can find a solution that then improves the experience. And there's something just incredibly rewarding about that, even though a lot of times people don't realize you put all the work into doing that for them. They just get the the end result. There's something about just like finding those issues and solving them.
No, I totally love that about what you do, and finding solutions and solving them. Like people like, oh, I thought that's how it was always done. Like, no, well, somebody had to figure it out,
Yeah.
And it's amazing because being a UX designer myself, that's literally all I do. Okay, let's go find problems. Let's go create solutions for these problems. Let's get you to the launch pad. Let's get you out of there in the space. Let's get you moving forward. That's awesome. So as we're talking, you love helping and finding these problems and finding solutions for them. And that could be one of your motivations, but what are some of the other motivations for being a community manager and being able to create solutions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of things. There's just something, no one believes me when I say this, but I'm more of an introvert in real life. But, there's something about digital communities I'm just very comfortable in, because obviously I've been sticking with them for so long. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's also just the connection piece again with other people, but also like the matchmaking piece of it. So if someone starts talking about like, oh, I want to launch a YouTube channel. I hate my background. I'd be like, I know who you need to talk to. You need to talk to Sinead. He's doing, like a free bootcamp workshop kind of thing right now. In fact, literally, and just knowing like, it's almost like this Rolodex of possible connections, but it's for in this case with SPI Pro, but this happens regardless of the community. It's in SPI Pro, it's some sort of entrepreneurial type connection. It's a potential to collaborate, to be on a podcast, that kind of thing. But any community, you have relationships with so many different people, you automatically know like, I bet these people would have fun talking. It's kind of like a puzzle.
It is.
Just like sticking puzzle pieces together. There's just something really fun about that. I like, I think at the end of the day, all of it is, I think my like life mission is to spread kindness and to just make help other people get to where they're going. Like that is actually where I'm going, is being that like ladder to help other people do better. So if I can help them do that, I'm just a helper. So yeah, I just really enjoy that.
I love that. And, like you said, as you meet people and you make connections, you now know experts from so many different areas. And you're like, oh, I know this guy, you can connect. You specifically especially you become a super connector, because now you're connecting people on a totally grand level. There's a book by David Burkus. It's called Friends of Friends. And he talks about in there how people that you've been friends with for a long time, you got to spend a lot less energy in finding partnership or solutions through there, as opposed to finding a totally new person and building that relationship, because there's no honeymoon period anymore. You don't have to go through, I got to learn about this guy, what they're known for. You already know them because you've been friends and they know what you've been up to. And when they see what the new stuff that you've been working on, they're kind of like taken aback. They're like, whoa, you did that? Like, you have 300 episodes of podcasts? What? How's that even possible?
Absolutely.
So I really love it.
Well, it's interesting because, I think we all just kind of, and it's very much like a Western culture thing. Like we all are like, independently, I'm going to find my way and carve it out alone. And, I'm an island, and it's so lonely. And, it's, and when you allow yourself to say like, I I need to find like a group in some way. And nowadays it can be online because, technology, it's the worst of things and it's the best of things all at the same time. And so you can find these like very niche groups regardless of where you live. Like I don't live somewhere that's super populated versus someone that lives in Manhattan. There's very different opportunities for like finding like-minded people. And so even if, the strong friends that you've had forever that are pretty low effort, they may not understand what it is, like that niche, whether it's a hobby interest or whether it's, business related.
Yeah.
So you might be able to find people online and, that used to be kind of taboo, be like, oh, your internet friends. And now it's like, no, this is like for real. Like people meet in real life based on this.
Yeah.
And there's something really special about that. And I think as humans, we've been, kind of trying to devalue how much we need that piece. And so being able to find it and then, have those connections when you join those communities where whatever they may be, feeling comfortable and safe enough to meet people and to connect and to put in that effort to get to know each other and whatnot. It's great. It makes all the mean internet comments all over the world a little less horrible.
It does, right? And just this weekend, I was traveling and I drove up to Jersey City to do a studio. And I was like, hey, I want to meet up with people that I met over the past 2 years. So one of my friends, he's a pastor at a church. And I messaged him the day before. It's like, hey, I'm in town. He's like, oh, I want to meet up. I'll try to come over. But that didn't happen. But the next day on Sunday, he was like, hey, I'm here. So I was like, well, give me the address. I'll just show up. So I showed up. And then when he was up talking, he's like, here's Junaid. He's he's my internet friend, but he's here. He's here to come meet us and, sit here with our service. And, he felt very uplifted and honored and humbled and I felt the same way because now, it's like we've known because we've been talking back and forth for years. So it's like you've met somebody that you don't really need to introduce anymore. You know who the person is. And we click with people that have that like mindset so much faster than trying to explain what it is that you do. Like, for example, if I go meet somebody in a group where they're all woodworkers, well, they're not going to understand my language of live streaming or podcasting. But if I talked about woodworking, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I use this chisel on this lathe and blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, cool. So you got to know the people and their language, right? The lexicon.
Absolutely. What an interesting first, that was the first time you met in IRL in real life?
Yeah.
He had a sermon that he was giving, like no pressure on him. Yeah. Like, better do a good job. No, just kidding.
Oh my God. He was so hyped and they have a different type of sermon altogether. Like they have music going on. They're like singing Christian rock songs. And then he was like standing next to me and like shouting out hallelujah, jumping around because, the music was so hot. And then he goes up there and he's talking and he's like introducing me. And it was very like natural to him because, he's been doing it for years and years now.
That's great. It's always cool to see someone in their element like that you might not see day to day. I mean, I don't know what he's like day to day. He might be like, hallelujah, just like down the street, but probably not. Right. And so to see someone like doing the thing that brings them joy. Yeah. That's really cool. That's a cool first in real life meetup experience.
Yeah, it is. And that's what communities enable, like you said, right? It's the power of the community. Like if I met people on SPI in person, who I've been meeting in masterminds and who I've been meeting through these Zoom calls, it's going to be the same. Like, hey, Junaid, you look the same.
Yeah.
And we'll probably make the same jokes.
Yeah, I think so. I love those kind of meetings too, because I feel like the biggest like surprise is who's the tallest or like short, like is someone like surprisingly tall, And that's like the most like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Otherwise it's just like this right now, except in the same room, which there's something really magical about that.
It is. And I'm looking forward to meeting a lot more people later this year because I'm going to Social Media Marketing World. I'm going to Podfest.
Yes.
So it's going to be, I'm
Oh
excited.
man, we need to have some sort of like pro meetups like
We do.
station for people. We should talk about that later.
Sweet.
I'm still in like full pandemic mode. I forget that things are happening again.
I know, right? It's been, and like you said, so you've been managing communities for the past decade plus and creating these relationships. And what's funny with the pandemic, so many more people are entering this space that we've been in for the past decade.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is how we're
Isn't it funny?
We're kind of like experts, right? And they're like, oh. So there's new people coming in all the time. And what's really cool is that we've gone through the path, so we're able to guide them so much easily.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so powerful about this.
It's interesting too, just how many companies, they went remote, they figured it out. They got, whether they got Slack, Zoom, like whatever, like tech suite they picked their tech stack to like make it happen.
Yeah.
And then at some point we're like, okay, come back. And quite a few people are like, how about we just keep doing this? And these companies are like, we spend a lot of money on these spaces, especially tech companies where they're like, we have kegs and, pool tables and all this stuff because we want you to be here and working a lot, and then that it's such an interesting shift that I think ultimately is for the better. I mean, you talk about, human connection and whatnot, giving people the flexibility to work on their own terms. We've come a long way since, the Industrial Revolution and
we have,
working every day for hardly any pay, no sick leave kind of thing. And one of the highlights, I guess, one of the positives of a global pandemic is it kind of shot industry several years ahead as far as how can people work? Because we're used to it. Tech, I think that like the tech kind of software kind of companies, they've been doing it for a long time. Like some people have figured it out to be like, you know what, this is better. And your talent pool can be so much greater.
So much. You can find experts all over the world, and they don't have to, you're not limited to just the people that are in that vicinity. So
or willing to live there. We moved all over the world when I was a kid for my dad's job. So I really like the idea that you could work somewhere without having to relocate there. Because I hated it. I hated moving all the time.
No, absolutely. The book Rework with David Heinemer and Jason Fried, right? They talk a lot about remote work because that's a company, Basecamp 37 Signals, that's been remote for the better part of the past 15 years. And, they've made it work.
Yeah. They really showed like, look, it works. Check it out. And like to even interview at Basecamp is like a unicorn experience. Like they have a line around the proverbial block since they're remote, of people wanting to work there. Cause not only remote, like their benefits in general, they are such a leader in how to treat your employees well.
That's so powerful. So Jillian, share some of your expert tips around managing a community, because, we're all entering this internet space or this space of creating community online. That is one skill that we all have to learn, how to manage a community, how to make sure that you're sharing the right information, how to make sure that you're keeping the people engaged. So share some of the tips that people can take away from this episode and start applying within their audiences.
Yeah. Well, I would challenge everybody thinking about starting a community. Is that what you really want? Or is it just a buzz? It's very popular right now. Everyone's like, oh, you got to launch a community. But the truth is, if you're not willing to spend the time, not only creating it and launching it, but then maintaining it, it's going to fizzle away. Like unless you just have this super niche idea where the people are going to join and take off and you can just walk away. But like, that's not how it actually works. And anybody selling you a course that says that, don't spend your money there. It's not going to work. But I would say if you're considering it, before you jump, one, ask your audience, because a community is not full of audience. A community is full of members. And to convert audience to members, you can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
but you need to make sure that's something they're even interested in. So you want to kind of do a check like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. It would look like this. It would, whether it's free, cost this, whatever, spell it out. Is that something you'd be interested? If so, like sign up for a list, like have them get like a quote unquote wait list going. That'll give you an idea, is this currently viable with the existing audience I have? And it might still be, even if they're kind of like, no, it might just be the way what you think you want to offer in it.
Yeah.
I would also say spend some time in some existing communities and see how they run. And you don't necessarily need to do that. You don't necessarily need to go like pay to be a part of a community. Like SPI Pro, for example, is paid, which is a great example of how to run a paid, entrepreneurial community. But there's Reddit, there's tons of free communities out there. Go find one that's an interest of yours.
Yeah.
Like knitters, all the knitters and crocheters already know this, but Ravelry is like a huge community for the knitters and crocheters, for all of us that play with needles. So like go and spend time in the actual community portions of those types of sites that have that, that become the free member. Go look around and just observe or participate, but like see how are the people who runs it? Can you tell? Where are the rules? Where's the community guidelines? Who do you go to if you need help? Is it obvious? Who is talking the most? What are they talking about? Like who's starting conversations? Who's really chatty? And like, what do you think it is? Like really go and see what's happening here. And that's going to help you know what you do and do not want to do in your community.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge, like just before you even start, if, once you launch and you're kind of in that growth and maintenance phase, a lot of it is just listening to your members. You need to be there for them because they joined for you. Like there's something you're offering that they joined. So are you providing that? And this is where I taught, this is kind of where I was saying, don't get ahead of yourself. Like, what is it you plan to happen in your community? If you don't know the answer to that, you're going to have a much harder time than if you've figured out, okay, I'm going to have weekly office hours on a Zoom call for an hour. Anybody can come to that. I know every Wednesday at noon, that's what I'm doing for that hour. It's blocked out in my calendar. That's very doable. And then, on these other days, I'm going to do things asynchronously. So like forum based or, it really depends which platform you use. Please don't use Facebook. That's my biggest request.
I'm all over Facebook right now.
Like all over it, like you use it a lot or like you're totally done with it?
I use it a lot. Yeah.
Do you? No.
Yes.
No.
I do.
Oh, stop. I would strongly advise against launching a community on Facebook because although they kind of offer a lot more tools than they used to for their groups, you do not have your member data. They give you some very basic admin tools.
Very basic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But they could boot your account tomorrow.
Shut it down very easily.
Then what are you going to do? Yep. Yeah. Because it's tied to your social platforms. There's a lot of reasons. Pick your poison.
Absolutely.
But I would, it's free if it's like, I can only do this or nothing. Sure. But make sure you are getting everybody's details and realize that you're going to lose people if for some reason you have to move it.
Yeah.
Especially if you like lose access and have to move it. It's going to be a nightmare. I'm just telling you.
It is going to be a nightmare. Oh, I've seen it too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And there are options out there that are free that aren't tied, that don't have that social media tie that like potentially you can lose your account. Geneva Chats is a really cool free platform that its functionality is really cool. It's kind of geared more to like the influencer crowd, but it could easily, anybody can easily use it.
Just like we have Slack and we have Discord, like ton of people creating new communities just around those topics.
Yeah.
Or on those
both Slack and Discord are great places. Discord, if your audience is already there, I would say it's a little more like confusing for us oldies.
Yeah. It's a lot more confusing for us newbies to get into it. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're either in the process or whatnot, definitely just have a vision of what is it I'm providing, like the expectations of me showing up, but understand that you're going to, ideally you or someone you've placed in kind of a community manager role is going to be in there a lot and like paying it, not like, you don't necessarily have to reply to every single post and every single comment, but you should be ready. Should no one else, there's nothing worse than someone putting themselves out there with like a
Exactly.
question or just like sharing, venting, whatever it is. And it's just crickets, right?
Yep. Nope.
It
No,
happens. It
totally.
happens to all of us
It
eventually,
happens
yeah,
all the
but
time.
it
Yeah.
doesn't feel good. So like you're there, you're the net, you're the one checking to make sure that stuff doesn't
Fall through the
happen.
net. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to have the answer either. I mean,
Right.
Nate,
Absolutely not.
yeah, I'm sure you've seen me in pro. Like if someone's asking a legal question, I'll tag people that I know
Yeah.
have more experience in that and be like, oh, so-and-so might know. Because then one, there's a response, whether or not I've answered the question, but it's just like, yes, I see you. I don't know the answer, but here's someone who might,
Yeah. So they can go reach out to them or even be more proactive, be more supporting in that response setup.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Love that.
And I find once there's that first comment, other people might be more likely to comment. Pro's kind of unique in that I don't think anyone needs any help. Like everyone's very comfortable. Yeah. Which is amazing. But I will say like new communities, especially people are looking to you to see how to act. Mm-hmm. So whatever behavior you want happening, that's the behavior you should be providing.
That's going to happen in there.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like, sure, I've been like a full-time community manager in the weeds a lot, but it doesn't mean I'm in the like community platform all day, every day, right? Like you can block out time, like just say the lunch hour, that's the hour you go check your messages, reply to people, make sure everything's good. It's very doable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the few points that we learned from Jillian,
let's see what you picked up. Okay.
Right. Learn from other communities, right? Go into those communities the stuff that you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. If you're an inventor, if you're a cyclist, if you're a beekeeper, find those communities, hang out with the people, see who's talking most, who's answering, who's running the group, and then put in your effort in there too, because it's all studying, right? We're all learning from each other. We're all watching what's possible, and that then comes back to, okay, how much time do I really want to put into a community? If I'm going to be running a community around studios or around managing communities or managing a ad agency, whatever have you, or a company, you got to be able to put in the time and the effort, because that's the only way you'll see a growth in your community too.
Absolutely. And you passed. And I would argue too that like most people who are thinking about this, you're probably in a community. You just maybe don't think about it that way. Yeah. Being a member of a church, churches are one of the best run communities ever. You can learn a ton from how churches, good and bad, but like how churches maintain a congregation, keep people engaged. There's a lot of, different study groups and like different groups doing things throughout the week within those members and the outreach they do. Like that's a community. Start next time you go, look at it from that lens and be like, oh, I see what they're doing here. That's a retention tactic.
Exactly. It's really powerful. And that's the best way to learn, right? Watch what people are doing and be able to replicate it, or just watch it a little more times. You just press pause, go back, play it again. There's so many examples of all these things out there. I was part of a community of drivers when I joined and became a Lyft car driver back in 2013, right? So I was going and meeting people because they're all drivers, and meeting them and, building relationships. It's all around, hey, what are you really passionate about? How can you get into it? So it's funny, Jillian, that you're mentioning all of these things. I wrote an article back in October 23rd, 2020, talking about communities and how they provide strength. So it's got a list. It's got a list of all the different communities that I was part of and what I learned from it. And then there's a topic. There's like 10 different things that I still haven't filled out, like community of speakers or teachers, hobbyists, gadgeteers, podcasters. There's all sorts of communities out there. And the more you pay attention, the more you realize that you're probably already following 2, 3, 4 people on YouTube about a specific thing, and you'll always go and watch their video. Like Peter McKinnon, he's always posting stuff about cameras, and if you're into cameras, you're already part of it, that niche community that you can probably find other people that are also talking that same geeky stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's a great example. So say you're into cameras, right? And so Pete McKinnon, is that, you can tell
Peter
I'm not
McKinnon,
super into, yeah. So, you go to his channel, does he have the membership component on YouTube? And if so, can you go sit in on some of his, lives to see how that community interacts? How many mods does he have? What what do they do when, someone's being a little funny, or even just like, how do they interact with the members that showed up? There's a lot of, it's all about, like, now I can't help myself, obviously. And I actually make a concerted effort to take a back seat in communities I'm a member of, at least at the beginning, because I obviously have a lot of, like, this is how it works and opinions and, and so I just like to not get in. I don't want to be involved because, one, I'm not working right now, but two, it's like, let the people who run this run it the way they want to. Exactly. I'm not going to like storm in and be like, I'm an expert in community and you do this wrong. Like, what a great way to never make friends, Exactly, but you learn. Exactly. Even I still learn, because I see situations happen in communities, and I can't help myself. I'm looking at it from a community builder's lens to be like, ooh, was that the right move? Let's, popcorn. Let's see what happens. It sounds kind of harsh, but a lot of what I'm talking about is like Reddit, which it's like, I'm not getting involved. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. It all comes down to the mindset that you're in, and are you open enough to let that stuff happen, and then be like, okay, if somebody comes and asks you, hey, how can we do this better, then give your input, instead of being like, oh, blah, 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 this is how you do, and then you never make friends. Well,
being super annoying. Yeah.
Well, Jillian, this was so much fun talking about community and talking about building relationships and finding friendships, and, being able to work remotely on our own time, on our own, dime, so have you. But it's really powerful. But this is the part of the podcast that we do some fast action questions, and yes, I was able to find my list.
Oh boy.
All right, sweet. What is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Beekeeping. Which I hear you may know something about.
I know a little bit about beekeeping. You can
just a bit,
just a little bit.
You can send me to the bee communities. Even wearing I even have on a little bumblebee necklace.
Ooh,
today.
I see that bumblebee. Nice.
Awesome. I freaking love bees. Like, love
They're
them.
Amazing.
I will squeal if a bumblebee, like a big fat bumblebee, flies by. Everything has to stop because I got to go look at the bumblebee. My family thinks I'm ridiculous. I don't even care. Love them. Save the bees, y'all. Plant native plants in your garden.
Yes, please. Plant some native plants. You'll find so many different bees. Now, there's about 20,000 species of bees. Honeybees are not local to the U.S.
That's right. Aren't they European?
They're European. They're Asian. And African, but not the U.S. So we've domesticated them, the bees out here. So it's pretty awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah. Next question.
We have a lot of. Oh, go ahead. I was going to go on a bee tangent.
A bee tangent.
Yeah. No, I'm in a strong. Everything I do in our yard is focused on pollinators, but I really want to start a bee hotel, create a very massive bee hotel in our yard. Cause we have a lot, those are the majority of the bees that are around here.
Yeah.
I want all those bumblebees.
No, absolutely. And what's funny is, during one of the years, my kids in Cub Scouts, we basically bought this kit of that they get to assemble this beehive, and then they put these inserts. So then you have carpenter bees or I can't remember what type of bees would come and live in there. And then, now that's their home and they can hibernate during winter in there.
Exactly.
All right, sweet. What did you want to be when you were a child?
I wanted to be a cat. And then when I found out that wasn't possible, unfortunately, a veterinarian. Like
Okay.
so much so that my grandma will still be like, I thought you wanted to be a vet. I did. I didn't want to go to school that much.
Nice. I like that one. What is your favorite movie or TV show? And if none, how about a book?
Ooh, yeah, that's really hard. I think so. TV show, Arrested Development.
Oh my God.
It walked so Schitt's Creek could fly, and I mean both of them. But yeah, it's just so funny, especially even now. Like I'm trying to get my husband's never watched it, and like I bought the DVD complete set kind of thing, like back in the day. Like I'm all in with the Bluths and the stair truck or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
And like all of it, like they're so ridiculous. And so I keep saying like we should watch Arrested Development from the very beginning. And he's kind of like, okay, like he doesn't get it. And I'm like, no, it's like Schitt's Creek, but it's like different.
It's different.
Very similar. Like
very
I think they got a lot of their ideas, Also, he'd get a lot more of the jokes that a lot of my friends and I put out there because we're constantly referencing it as if it hasn't been off the air for like forever.
Forever, yeah.
Anyways.
So I've seen like probably the 3 seasons, and then they did like a 4th season.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch that?
I don't think I have. I can't remember.
You remember.
I did restart.
Did you?
I did start the rewatching of it.
So
I'm going to finish and it's going to be fun.
I may have committed some light treason. It's just my favorite. And it's still funny today. It's still relevant.
It is, yeah. Right now I'm rewatching Seinfeld because
how does Seinfeld like stand up the test of time? Like, is it a little more cringe, the jokes? I feel like it might not age well. No,
they aged well.
Did it?
Oh yeah.
I haven't watched a Seinfeld episode in so long. Or
it's on
like
Netflix,
Friends.
so it's Netflix. So I was like, okay, it's on Netflix. I don't have to, because the first time that I binge watched it, it was DVDs. I was like, okay, I switched to DVD. For sure.
Yeah. What are those?
What are those things again?
I don't even know if my daughter knows what those are.
All right. Next question. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Blank Check. Have you seen that?
I have not seen Blank Check.
You're not missing anything. It's like a Disney 90s. A kid finds a blank check, writes it out for $1 million, and it gets cashed.
There you go.
90s money, $1 million is like big time.
That's big time.
No, just kidding. I don't know. Yeah.
What about a TV show?
Right. Definitely not Arrested Development.
Would you not want to be in Arrested Development? Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think anything I watch is. I like very like dark comedies or like psychological thrillers, and so
you wouldn't want to be.
Comes to mind, yeah. There's like maybe like a Yo Gabba Gabba episode. I don't know if your kids ever watched that. It's very trippy, but it would be fun.
That'd be fun, yeah. So some people ask me, where'd you get that question from? And I was like, well, I was watching Ready Player One. Read the book Ready Player One, Ernest Cline, and that was epic. That book was awesome.
I haven't read it. Is that you just want to be the character?
Yeah. So the story goes, it's the year's 2145. The creator of this software passes away, and as he dies, he's placed this Easter egg in this massively played video game. It's a virtual reality video game. There's no more gasoline, so everybody's going to school using VR headsets, and so the Easter egg's in there, and whoever finds this Easter egg gets to own this entire company that's billions of dollars worth.
Oh wow.
So this guy was fascinated by the 80s, and in one of the puzzles you had to know line by line the entire movie War Games. And you have to play it out so that you can win, you can get past that puzzle.
Oh, wow. You want to do that in real life? Go play out War Games? That sounds terrifying.
It does. It
but
does. No,
fair
the movie
enough.
War Games with Matthew Broderick. So you were Matthew Broderick when you played the.
And like a young Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, they did it differently in the movie where they used The Shining instead. Like, oh my god.
Oh, no, thank you.
Our next question: who is your favorite superhero?
Ooh, so fun fact, I've never been super into the superhero things.
Superheroes, right?
When I joined Team SPI, if you've noticed, Matt in particular is very into the Avengers and Marvel. And so I decided to watch all the movies because I hadn't really seen any of them. I think I'd seen like an Iron Man maybe.
Yeah.
But I decided to watch them in chronological order. So based on when they happen in the timeline versus
the first Avenger or no, Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the names, but anyways, so I did that. I've since like totally into it. Love them. I really liked Loki, the movie, the show, and Hawkeye. Hawkeye was so good.
Yeah,
so good. I was just like, I love the character dynamics in it. Anyways. Yes. So without a doubt, my favorite superhero is Captain Marvel. I love her. Yeah, like such awesome. A badass. The whole movie's like 90s, like Nirvana. So that's like my generation, right? Yeah. So I was like highly involved. And like, she's so powerful. She's like, she can't even be bothered with Earth problems half the time because she's busy. Like, love her.
That's right.
She's a badass.
She's a badass. Amazing. We can't wait for the next Marvel, Miss Marvel? No, Captain Marvel movie. We do have a Miss Marvel. We do have a Miss Marvel TV show coming pretty soon on Disney Plus.
I know Disney Plus is the best.
Oh my god!
When it first came out, I was like, "No, I'm never going to do that." And then Hamilton came out on it, and I was like, "Okay, we'll do a trial." And I was like, "Wait a minute, this is amazing!"
All of this under one basket for
it's good.
This show episode is sponsored by Disney Plus, so if you go get yourself a Disney Plus subscription.
Captain Marvel fanny pack, please, Disney, for plugging all your products.
Absolutely. Awesome. Dude, this was so much fun, Jillian. Last question, and this is the one that people get puzzled by the most. If you are a board game, what would it be?
If I was a board game? I mean, quite literally, the game of life comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Old school.
Old school. Well, I think that.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go with that because I don't play a lot of board games, so I don't have a lot of points of reference. But I like how in that game it's just like a lot of it is just sheer luck, and I feel like that is a lot of life. Is just like timing, It's like
timing is everything. Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell book Outliers like changed my entire perspective. I was like, it's not my fault. Book. I wasn't born in the right month. I'll never be a pro hockey player because I wasn't born in the right time.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah. Also, I don't play hockey, but yeah, just the point. There's a lot of that. So we'll go with Game of Life.
Awesome. Well, Jillian, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you and enter a little bit of inside the mind of Jillian.
Terrifying.
Where can my audience find you?
Yeah. So as we've been talking about, spipro.com is the community I run with my team, and very fun group for entrepreneurs. Junaid hopefully has his referral link set up so he can put that in the show notes.
Set up.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely come check it out. If you think it's right for you, great. If not, no worries. And I am the co-host of the Community Experience podcast, which you can find on any podcast player. Wherever podcasts are played, we'll be there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jillian, again. We'll talk with you soon next time. Right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. This was Junaid here on Hacks and Hobbies podcast. We'll talk to you again soon. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.